I spend most days by myself, and I like it. I often travel alone, exploring new landscapes and getting lost in nature. Has it always been like that? No. But there's a point when you realise that the one person you have to spend your whole life with is yourself. Whether it's in the forest, at the beach, or at home, it's always you. It's probably a good idea then to like being with that person. So this is how I learnt to embrace solitude, how it transformed my mindset, and why learning to enjoy your own company is maybe one of the most important things that you can do. There's something really nice about completing something which beforehand you weren't really sure that you could do. That could be a big road trip, a hike, or even just getting through a challenging day alone. For me, these experiences sort of have a compounding effect on my confidence, which enable me to go forward and do even harder things. And comparing that to when I'm fully in my comfort zone with very little challenges, that's when I become more unsure of what I can achieve. I've always found that action results in more action. I really like this quote from Ryan Holiday: "Belief in yourself is overrated, generate evidence." And I think that's true, for me, belief feels a bit more whimsical, whereas evidence, it doesn't lie. If you've got proof that you can do a thing, that's real confidence. Everybody else is so tied up in their own lives and what they look like that they don't even notice you. And if for whatever reason somebody sees you doing something alone, the chances are they won't think you're weird. If anything, they're probably just jealous because they wish that they were comfortable enough to do things alone. I think once you realize this, it's just really liberating. You can't let the thought of people watching you and judging you stop you from doing everyday things that you want to do. Whether that's just going out for a coffee by yourself or going out for food or even to watch a film at the cinema. I always try and remember the quote, "You'll worry less about what people think about you when you realize how seldom they do." And if you can get really comfortable doing things like this, it'll give you the freedom to do things that you actually want to do day to day. You'd be surprised how many people don't go to events or do things because they don't feel like they can do it alone. At first, the easiest thing to do in your own company is to reach out for your phone, to try and distract yourself and try and get some connection from others that way. However, I found that having periods of complete solitude without any external distractions can be incredibly beneficial, even if it is uncomfortable. And yes, there is a sense of discomfort in sitting with your own thoughts, which shamefully most of us only ever really experience when we go to sleep or perhaps in the shower. For me though, that time is really great because that's when I can come up with ideas, I can make decisions and generally work through most of life's challenges. And yes, I know it feels very counterproductive to essentially do nothing at all, but even just going for a 30-minute walk without my phone, so yes, no music or podcasts, for me, that is like the most important and refreshing time that I can actually have. There's always some benefits that come from it, but for me personally, that's when all the clutter in my mind can get organized. It's usually when I reevaluate my goals and my aspirations and my life, and it's only without distractions that I feel like I can properly focus on that kind of stuff. And on top of that, a walk in nature just always feels good. A big thing for me these days is traveling solo. For me, it's the most rewarding thing out there, and it's the biggest confidence builder I've found. And it really does have a compounding effect too. On my first solo trip, I stayed in a well-known chain hotel and wandered no more than a couple of miles away from that exact spot. Then fast forward a few years and I'm driving on the opposite side of the road, exploring insane landscapes, meeting new people, and walking into a cold lake because why not? And if the solo travel thing is new for you, then obviously you could just go in straight at the deep end, but I would suggest that you maybe pick somewhere in your own country, go for like 2 nights, have a wander around, take some photos, maybe try out a new restaurant, and then go home. And it's important to remember that solitude is not the same thing as loneliness. You can still be lonely in a crowd of people, and even in a big city. A lot of people and society in general makes you think that time alone should be avoided and it's a signal that things aren't right. But I would challenge that and say it's actually people's inability to be comfortable alone that's the real problem. The next point is that you're never as alone as you think you are. And no, I don't mean how you can just reach people on your phone when you feel uncomfortable. Instead, I'm talking about how if you're open to it, there's interactions ready for you around every corner. I remember one time I stayed at a small cabin on a farm and I had a really nice time, but I never saw anyone around. I thought I really was alone. And then just as I was about to leave, I saw an older man in the distance and he waved and then started walking over to me. And it turned out that it was actually his granddaughter who had the Airbnb. Luckily, his English was pretty good, so we had a good conversation and he just seemed really happy to find out what I do and where I'm from. And he let me know all about his life and what he does as well. It was just really wholesome. He actually gave me a really cool bookmark which has the name of the accommodation and I still use it today. It was only a quick conversation, but I think that we both left feeling pretty good. Maybe neither of us had seen anyone for quite a while, but yeah, it's just those little moments when you're traveling by yourself that kind of make you realize that you're never as alone as you think you might be. Maybe it's someone in a cafe or someone that you see walking their dog. There's usually a conversation to be had if you look hard enough. Personally, I've definitely learned that just taking off the headphones once in a while and being open to the world can help a lot. So there's this one time that I'll always remember. I was walking around Oslo, just myself and my camera, exploring the city, and I saw these two guys that were really good at skateboarding. And I don't know what came over me, but I just walked straight up to them and asked them if I could make them a video. Thankfully, they agreed and we had a lot of fun doing it. They were really pumped with the videos, and honestly, it's just those moments that help raise the spirits when technically you're alone in another country. Going back to building confidence, I find that once you do a couple of solo trips anywhere, things start to feel easier. Booking the train tickets or working out where the Airbnb is, it gets easier every time you do it. Or what I should say is, you get more competent and confident each time. The strange thing is now, doing things alone has become the default. And honestly, I'm kind of fine with that. And something that's really important as well is being really thoughtful about who gets your attention and who you choose to give your time to. A good rule of thumb is to limit that to the kind of people that always leave you feeling recharged and positive, rather than the people that drain your energy. If you leave them with a spring in your step, that's a pretty good sign. So of course everybody is different, and perhaps when you're in a big crowd you feel great, but I would definitely say there could be something to be learned from some time alone. So I was thinking recently about how time alone is quite linked to self-improvement, because naturally when you get into the self-improvement world, you're probably spending a lot of time working on yourself, which kind of means that you're going to be spending a lot of time by yourself. So it's probably a good idea to enjoy spending that time with your own company, which leads you into improving and being better company for yourself, but then also being better company for others. So you kind of get into this cycle, which is quite a good cycle to be in, I'd say. I would say from my personal experience, spending time alone reminds me a lot like exercising a muscle. The more I do it, the more I tend to grow and the more I improve. But of course, even after saying all this, we need to remember that we are social creatures and we need to nurture our close relationships. I definitely believe though that the better you are at spending time alone, I think that'll make you better company for those around you in the long run. If you're into these kind of videos on YouTube, I'm going to take a guess that you're pretty introspective and thoughtful and curious. So hopefully a lot of the stuff that was spoken about in this video has resonated with you. If that is the case, it'd be incredible if you considered subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.